Welcome to the voice of St. Anthony Parish from Allston, Massachusetts, right here on WROL 950 AM 100.3 FM. And you can also hear us at CatholicAudiomedia.com, CatholicAudiomedia.com. And hey, we're here every single Monday through Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on WROL, and you can also hear us there. And so if you're here on a regular basis, thank you for being part of our audience. Thank you for being part of our community here. And if you're coming here for the first time, you've been invited by someone else, or you just decided to tune in, thank you for being here as well. And let people know where you can find us. Let people know where you can find our message. Spread the word so that more people can hear this. You know, I talked a few weeks ago about an issue that happens in the church where people say they have this message. This is how we're right, and this is how you're wrong. And, you know, we're talking about this pastoral letter from the Bishop of Marquette, Michigan, a Bishop Dorflyer. I don't know if I pronounced his name correctly, hopefully. And it's a pastoral letter he wrote to people with same-sex attraction and gender dysphoria. And we're talking about it this week specifically because this is a week where you may actually be in some kind of family event or some kind of company party where you're going to be with people who have this, and they may be asking you as a Catholic, or they may be expecting you as a Catholic to act in a certain way. So in any case, these are powerful words that he says. And he says these powerful words that we're going to look at. But understand, everything he's saying to people, how to minister to people with same-sex attraction or gender dysphoria, he really should have taken that out and said how to minister to people, because that's really the message. The people who have same-sex attraction and gender dysphoria feel they're being singled out, and I think rightly so, because really this letter is so good, it should be addressed across the board. He should have taken that part out, and that's, I think, where there was a bit of a problem. Something else I should say, because I don't understand these issues necessarily. And one of the fascinating things to understand about gender dysphoria, don't understand it, don't really understand it at all. However, I don't know whether you know this or not. One of Ernest Hemingway's sons had gender dysphoria and actually went through the transition towards the later part of his life. Now, I want you to think about this. If you're talking about someone who models over-the-top masculinity, you would be hard-pressed to find anyone more who does that than Ernest Hemingway. And you imagine the difficulty his son may have had in relating to this man who was over-the-top masculinity. He's well known for that. He even survived 2 plane crashes in the same day. He and his wife, 2 plane crashes in the same day in Africa. And of course, I think part of that was the fruit of his short story, Snows of Kilimanjaro. But anyway, that's Ernest Hemingway. And his son had gender dysphoria. Amazing situation. So the only thing I don't understand it, but the one thing I do know is, and people will say, yes, this is real. And we can see that in that example. Well, how do we deal with this as people doing pastoral ministry? And the proper thing to point out is this letter that he wrote really shouldn't be addressed just to people with these issues. It should be addressed right across the board. It's really an excellent letter in that sense. And he talks about this path of accompaniment to really, it would be really modeling Jesus for them, to give them the core message of the gospel. And he says, in light of the experience of God's love and with the strength of the people are then able to address sinful behavior. I know there are people in the communities that will get very upset when they hear this because they don't consider their behavior sinful. Okay. That's a different show altogether. But always understand that. Who are the people who encounter Christ, which I said yesterday? The people who recognize they are sinful. The people who don't never do. And so it's people say, I'm good enough to get to heaven. They never encounter Christ. That's why they don't go to church. How many people do you know who do that? And let me tell you something. There may be someone in your congregation who has gender dysphoria or same-sex attraction, who goes to church, whatever the case may be, and he is far closer or she is far closer to Christ, and the person says, I'm good enough to get to heaven. So when we address this behavior, he says he wants to lead people to an personal encounter with Jesus, because that is what Catholicism is all about. This is important because there's too many people been teaching for too long that it's all about living a good life or living a moral life and completely dividing it from a relationship with Christ. Our faith teaches it begins with the relationship with Christ, and we cannot live our Catholic faith if we don't have a relationship with Christ and we don't pray. That is Catholic teaching. And he makes that clear. So that really is where your tension comes in, because people understand it only as a moral way of life, separated from our relationship with Christ, and people live a moral life, go to heaven, whereas in reality, you cannot live the moral life Jesus calls us to without an encounter with him, a relationship with him, and without being people of prayer. And that's what the liturgy is all about, being people of prayer. So we see those combinations and we understand that's where he's going. And part of the confusion is separating those two things. You can't live a moral life if you're not a person of prayer. That is Catholic teaching. You're listening to the voice of St. Anthony Parish from Allston, Massachusetts, right here on WROL 950 AM 100.3 FM. And you can also hear us at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. We'll be right back right after this. We are presently in the process of evaluating the effectiveness of our programming for our mission at St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. In a few weeks, we have to decide whether to renew our contract for another year. So we need your feedback. Are these programs helping you become stronger in your faith? Have these programs affected your relationship with Christ? Please send any comment to us through CatholicAudiomedia.com/contact. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com/contact. You may also call us using the number listed there, 617-297-7452. That's 617-297-7452. You can even write to us at St. Anthony Parish, 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. That's St. Anthony Parish, 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. Every comment will be evaluated as we make the decision whether to renew for a new year. And don't forget our website, CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can check out our website, check out the archives of the show. You can check out our Substack newsletter. You can also, of course, send us feedback. You can donate to the show if you want, CatholicAudiomedia.com/donate. You can do all kinds of things over there at CatholicAudiomedia.com. And please consider sending us a comment. That's really important to us. Some people already have, and we really appreciate it. And to those who sent those comments, we've read them. We are praying for you, and we really appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. So we're talking about these things in light of what the bishop has written. Powerful, powerful letter. And he talks about that, how it's important for us to do this pastoral accompaniment. And then he explains how important this is, that we are called to reach out to people, to live in this such a way that they encounter Christ and they seek to follow him. And in light of that, he really is calling an important message for all of us to understand the importance of our own seeking of holiness, because we can't accompany anyone else if we're not living a holy life. So he's talking about this in light of this importance, but I think those powerful words of really understanding that it's not a matter of just citing church teaching and say, this is the way you have to live. That is so wrong, but it is so common. It is, let me introduce you to Jesus Christ. And it may not be done in those words. It just may be done in actions by living our life as we're called to live our life. Not even mentioning a word. What is that old saying? I think it supposedly comes from St. Francis. Oh, there's different sources that say it wasn't St. Francis, but someone close to him, whatever. Preach the word, preach the gospel at all times. If necessary, use words. In light of that, he makes probably the most important statement in this whole document. And it is this. To address the behavior, and remember, he's focusing on people with same-sex attraction, gender dysphoria. I think the letter really works better if he takes it out of that form and addresses it to everyone about how to live the gospel, to lead people to the gospel, and how to address those who are living a life that is outside of the gospel teaching, in a sense. And so I think really the reason why there was such an explosion over the stuff that we'll talk about next week is because he focused it on these people, but he's speaking how to do pastoral ministry. It is very well done to anybody. And so here he says, to address the behavior apart from fostering a personal encounter with Jesus and his love is likely to harm the other person. How many people have tried to preach that, but there are people who just say, this is what church teaching is, and these people need to change their ways. To address the behavior apart from fostering a personal encounter with Jesus and his love is likely to harm the other person. Don't ever forget that. What an excellent line. And a lot of people, again, they just don't like the letter because of what some of the material we're going to talk about next week. But again, this letter should be taken out of the focus and put right where it is, on just addressed to how we should pastorally minister to anyone. It's really, that's where the misunderstanding comes in. He then goes into a whole series of how to describe what it means to live a Catholic marriage and any kind of sexual activity outside of, number one, a Catholic marriage that is open to life is sinful. Period. It doesn't matter who they are. A lot of people have the idea that you can be a heterosexual couple and engage in any form of sexual activity at all, and in fact, and then that's fine with the church. It isn't. All acts should be open to life, which is that's what the whole message of the church is. So any idea that, well, and heterosexuals can get married and do anything they want, whereas homosexuals cannot, that is not church teaching. And people need to understand it. You can't get married in a Catholic church if you aren't willing to follow what he teaches, procreation as number one, and two, unity of the spouses. Most people have it the other way around. Unity of the spouses, and then if we get around to it, procreation. It's Catholic teaching is procreation first, because we're joining our mission of God and his creation. That's what married couples do. And then it's also part of unity of the spouses. People misunderstand that. We'll talk more tomorrow. Have yourself a blessed day. In Cristo vivimos.